Elena stood by the window, her arms wrapped around herself, as the soft rumble of the car faded down the street. The taillights glowed red in the dark, slowly disappearing into the night. Inside that car was her sister, Brielle, dressed in Elena's gown, hair curled perfectly, makeup flawless. Next to her sat Trey, the boy who was supposed to be Elena's prom date. They were laughing. Elena blinked hard, trying not to cry. She was still in her old pajamas, feet cold on the hardwood floor. She had dreamed of this night for months, saving every dollar from her part-time job to buy that dress, planning everything down to the shoes and lipstick. And now it was gone. All of it. She turned as her mother walked past the room. "Mom, why did you let her take everything?" Her mom didn't even stop walking. "Brielle deserves this more. You wouldn't know how to carry that dress, Elena." It hit like a slap. Elena's throat tightened, but no words came. She just stood there, frozen, heart pounding, heat rising in her chest. She sat on the edge of the bed and stared at her hands. Her phone buzzed. "Where are you? You're missing it. Brielle looks amazing." Elena turned the phone face down. For a long moment, the room was quiet. She felt like a ghost in her own life. Forgotten. Replaced. Then something shifted. A spark. Maybe it was anger. Maybe pain. She stood up slowly and walked to the closet. She dug through old clothes and school uniforms until her hand touched a black dress. Plain, simple, but clean. She pulled it out and slipped it over her head. No heels. No makeup. She tied her hair in a messy bun. Her reflection in the mirror looked small and tired, but real. Her bare feet hit the floor as she stepped out of the room. She wasn't going for them. She wasn't going for Trey. Or her mom. Or even Brielle. She was going for herself. Elena had always been the quiet one. She liked to read, stayed out of trouble, and did well in school. Teachers loved her essays. She spent her lunch breaks in the library, buried in books while other kids laughed in the halls. At home, though, none of that seemed to matter. Brielle, her older sister, was the star. Beautiful, loud, and full of charm, she had a way of making everyone look at her. Their mom, Monica, adored her. From the way she smiled when Brielle walked in the room to the way she always took her side, it was clear. Brielle was the favorite. "Elena's just shy," Monica would say when anyone asked. "She's not like Brielle." Elena's dad had left when she was 10. She remembered how he used to sit beside her and help with homework, how he once told her, "You're just like me, kiddo, my little twin." But after he left, things changed. Monica got colder, busier, and Brielle took up more space. In the house, in their mother's heart, and in Elena's life. Prom had been the one thing Elena had looked forward to all year. She'd gotten a part-time job at a bookstore just to save up. Every shift, every dollar, went into buying the dress. A soft blue one with tiny sparkles that reminded her of stars. She'd hidden it in the back of her closet, hoping Brielle wouldn't notice. Brielle hadn't cared at first. She had been too busy with her own plans, her own friends. But as prom got closer and attention started shifting, something in her changed. She began asking questions. "What dress did you get? Are you really going with Trey?" Elena had always liked Trey from afar. He was popular, friendly, and kind in a quiet way. They had worked on a group project once, and he'd been the only person who listened when she spoke. When he asked her to prom, she couldn't believe it. For a moment, she felt seen. At school, no one really noticed Elena, except Marcus. He sat next to her in English, always with a book in his lap, and his shoulders hunched like he was trying to disappear. He stuttered when he spoke, which made him an easy target. Kids teased him in the hallways. Elena didn't have many friends, but Marcus felt safe. They didn't talk much, but when they did, it was real. One afternoon, Elena caught Brielle trying on her dress. "Take it off," she had said quietly. Brielle had just smiled. "Relax. I'm just seeing how it fits." Elena knew something was wrong then, but she didn't want to fight. She never won anyway. All her life, it had been the same. Every dream she had, whether it was trying out for a play, joining the art club, or going to a summer writing camp, Brielle had stepped in. If Elena wanted it, Brielle either mocked it or claimed it as her own. Their mom always let it happen. "You need to stop trying to compete," Monica once told her. "You'll never be Brielle." Elena wasn't trying to be Brielle. She just wanted to be herself. But somehow, even that felt like too much. And now, on the night that was supposed to be hers, Brielle had taken everything. The dress, the makeup, the ride, even Trey. She had stolen the one thing Elena had been looking forward to. But something inside Elena had started to shift. She was tired of being the shadow. Tired of being invisible. She didn't know what would happen next, but for once, she wasn't going to hide. The morning of prom started like any other, quiet and slow. Sunlight slipped through Elena's curtains as she got out of bed, heart light with excitement. She had planned everything: dress, shoes, makeup, even the earrings she had borrowed from her aunt. Tonight was supposed to be special. Her special. But when she opened her closet, her smile faded. The dress was gone. She stood there, blinking, hoping she had just missed it. She checked the floor, the back of the closet, under her bed. Nothing. Her makeup bag was missing too. Panic slowly crept in. She rushed to the living room. Monica was sitting at the kitchen table, drinking coffee and scrolling on her phone. "Mom," Elena said, breathless, "my dress is gone. My makeup too. Did you see it?" Without looking up, Monica shrugged. Brielle needed it. Elena froze. "What?" She had nothing to wear. "You know how important this night is for her. And you'll still be fine, Elena. You don't need all that to have a nice time." Elena's chest tightened. "But I paid for that dress. I worked for it. It's mine." Monica looked at her now, tired eyes sharp. "Stop being dramatic. Brielle's the one people expect to see tonight. Let her have this." Tears stung Elena's eyes, but she turned and walked down the hall. Her heart pounded in her ears. She knocked on Brielle's door hard. The door opened slowly. Brielle stood there in the blue dress, Elena's dress. Her hair was already curled, makeup done. She looked perfect. "Give it back," Elena said, her voice shaking. Brielle raised an eyebrow. "It fits me better anyway. It's mine." Brielle smirked. "No one would care if you showed up anyway." Behind her, Elena saw Trey sitting on the edge of the bed, checking his phone. He glanced up, saw her, and quickly looked away. "You're going with him?" Elena asked, her voice breaking. Brielle shrugged. He made a better choice. Elena turned away and walked straight to the bathroom. She locked the door and sat on the floor, pressing her back to the wall. Her whole body felt heavy. The pain in her chest was sharp, like something had cracked open inside. She buried her face in her hands and cried, loud, hard sobs that she couldn't stop. She didn't know how long she stayed like that. Her phone buzzed. It was Marcus. "Marcus, hey, you okay?" Elena wiped her face and stared at the screen. "Elena, I'm fine." It was a lie, but she didn't know what else to say. She looked at herself in the mirror. Red eyes, pale skin, hair messy, everything she had dreamed about, gone in a single morning. And yet, something in her chest felt different now. Not broken, not exactly, empty, quiet, still. She stood up slowly and took a deep breath. Then she opened the cabinet under the sink, pulled out a small bag, and walked back to her room. She didn't need the dress, or the heels, or the glitter. She needed to go. Not for anyone else. Just for herself. Elena stood in front of her mirror, wearing the only dress she could find, a plain black one she had bought from Goodwill months ago for a school event. It wasn't fancy. The hem was slightly uneven, and the fabric was thin, but it was clean and simple. She tied her hair in a messy bun, wiped her face clean with a damp towel, and looked at herself one last time. No makeup, no jewelry, no shoes, just herself. Her feet touched the cold floor as she walked out the front door. The night air was cool. She hugged her arms close and started walking. The school was only a few blocks away, but each step felt long and slow. Her heart beat hard in her chest. When she reached the gym, music was blasting from inside. Bright lights flashed through the windows, and laughter echoed through the air. She paused at the door for a second, then opened it and stepped in. The music didn't stop, but the mood shifted. Heads turned. People stared. Some whispered. A few even laughed quietly. Elena walked slowly, her bare feet making no sound on the polished floor. She didn't look down or hide her face. She just kept walking. Trey saw her first. His eyes widened. He nudged Brielle, who turned sharply. When she saw Elena, her mouth twisted into a smile, not a kind one. "Really?" Brielle said loud enough for people nearby to hear. "This is what you came in." Elena didn't answer. She looked at her sister for a brief moment, then looked past her and kept walking. Her silence seemed to catch Brielle off guard. Marcus was standing near the drink table, holding a plastic cup. When he saw Elena, his mouth fell open a little. Then he smiled, big, real, and full of surprise. "You came," he said softly, walking toward her. Elena nodded. "You look amazing," he said, even though she knew she didn't. But the way he said it made her believe maybe she did, in some quiet, honest way. He held out his hand. She looked at it for a second, then took it. They walked through the crowd together. Some people stepped aside. Others watched them, unsure what to say. But no one could look away. As the night went on, something strange started happening. A girl from Elena's science class walked up to her and said, "You look really pretty tonight." Then someone else complimented her dress. Not for being fancy, but for being different. A boy she barely knew told her, "It took guts to come like that." Elena didn't know how to respond. She just smiled, small and quiet. Meanwhile, Brielle was starting to notice. She pulled Trey close, whispered something in his ear. He looked over at Elena again, then again. His eyes stayed on her longer this time. Elena caught the look. Their eyes met for a second. Trey looked like he wanted to say something. But before he could, Elena turned away. She wasn't here for him. Not anymore. She and Marcus stood near the back of the room, swaying gently to the music. He wasn't a great dancer. Neither was she. But it didn't matter. People started looking at her differently. Not like she was invisible, not like she was strange, but like she was real, strong, honest. Brielle watched from across the room, her smile slowly fading. The spotlight that had always followed her was dimming, and she didn't like it. But Elena didn't notice anymore. The music slowed. The lights dimmed. A voice came over the speakers. The MC for the night, Mr. Lawson, the history teacher, stood at the microphone with a smile. "All right, everyone," he said. "The moment you've all been waiting for. Time to announce your prom king and queen." Cheers and claps filled the room. Students turned toward the stage. Brielle stood near the front, fixing her hair and adjusting the crown she had already borrowed from the table. She looked so sure. She leaned into Trey and whispered, "It's mine." Mr. Lawson opened the envelope. "Your prom king is Jordan Pierce." Applause broke out as a tall football player walked up to the stage, grinning. He waved at his friends and took his spot next to Mr. Lawson. "And now," Mr. Lawson said, voice rising, "your prom queen is..." A pause. "Elena Carter." The room went still. Gasps echoed through the gym. Heads turned. A few clapped. Then more hands joined in. Confused at first, then louder, real. Elena didn't move. She stood frozen near the back wall, her bare feet still against the cold floor. She blinked. Did he say her name? Marcus touched her arm. "That's you." She looked at him, then at the stage. All eyes were on her. Slowly, she walked forward. Her heart thudded with every step. Whispers followed her like shadows. Brielle stood in place, mouth slightly open, shock on her face. Then anger. She dropped the fake crown she'd been holding and stormed out of the gym, heels clicking loudly. Monica, who had just arrived at the back of the room, followed her. "Elena!" Monica snapped. "What did you do?" Elena didn't look back. She stepped up onto the stage. The lights were bright, too bright. Mr. Lawson handed her the small plastic crown. It felt light in her hands, almost like it wasn't real. She turned to the crowd. The clapping faded. People waited. Her voice was soft at first, but it didn't shake. "Sometimes," Elena said, "it takes losing everything to find who you really are." The gym went silent. Not a whisper, not a laugh, just stillness. Then a slow clap started. "Marcus." His eyes were proud and kind. Others joined in. The sound grew. Elena saw Trey near the crowd, staring at her like he didn't understand what had just happened. He opened his mouth like he wanted to speak, but no words came. She turned away. Outside the gym, Brielle was yelling, her makeup smudged, hair tangled. "This was supposed to be my night," she screamed. "She ruined everything." Monica grabbed Elena's arm as she stepped outside. "What do you think you're doing?" her mother hissed. "You embarrassed your sister. You stole her moment." Elena pulled her arm free. "It was never hers," she said quietly. "It was mine. And you knew it." Monica stared at her, speechless for once. Elena didn't wait for a reply. She walked down the sidewalk into the night, her crown still in her hand, the cold pavement under her feet. She didn't need anyone to tell her she had done the right thing. For the first time, she didn't feel small. She felt whole. In the days after prom, the whole school couldn't stop talking. Photos and videos of Elena in her plain black dress and bare feet started spreading on social media. Someone had recorded her walking up to the stage, crown in hand. Another had captured her speech. People shared it with captions like, "The Barefoot Queen, realest moment of the year." She didn't need a dress to win. Elena's inbox filled up with messages. Some were from people she barely knew. "You inspired me. I wish I had your courage. You showed up as you. That's what I'll remember." Elena didn't know how to reply to most of them, but she read every word. At school, something felt different. People nodded when they passed her in the hall. A few even stopped to say hello. No one laughed at her anymore. Then came the news about Brielle. Mr. Hansen, Elena's English teacher, had been looking into some suspicious grades and found out Brielle had cheated on her college application, copying essays, even changing grades on a teacher's account. She was suspended for 2 weeks. Her acceptance to a big-name university was now under review. Monica tried to cover it up, telling neighbors it was a mistake. But Elena knew the truth. And for once, she didn't feel guilty about it. Monica sat her down one evening. "Things got out of hand," she said softly. "Maybe we all need a fresh start." Elena nodded. "I already have one." She had talked to her aunt the day after prom. Her dad's sister, Aunt Renee, had always been kind to her, sending birthday cards and calling when Monica didn't. Now, she had offered Elena a room in her quiet little house across town. Monica didn't argue. The next week, Elena packed her things, not much, and moved in with her aunt. Her room was small, but it was full of light and peace. The kind of peace she had never really known. On the first morning of her new routine, Marcus waited for her outside the gate. He held his backpack with one hand and looked shy. "Ready?" he asked. She nodded. They started walking to school together, the streets still sleepy, the air cool and soft. After a while, he reached out and gently took her hand. She looked at him, no big words, no questions, just quiet kindness. Elena smiled. Not the kind you fake. A real one. For the first time, her life felt like her own. Not stolen. Not borrowed. Just hers. The sky was soft with morning light as Elena stood alone at the edge of the cemetery. The grass was damp under her bare feet. A small breeze moved through the trees, quiet and calm. She stood in front of her father's grave, holding the plastic prom crown gently in her hands. The ground was still, peaceful. For a long time, she said nothing. Then her voice came, soft but sure. "You were the only one who saw me," she said. "Really saw me. Even when I couldn't see myself." She took a slow breath. "I see me now, too." She knelt down and placed the crown gently on top of the headstone. It looked simple there, not fancy, not shining, but full of meaning. She stood again, brushed her hands on her dress, and looked up at the rising sun. The hill behind her glowed with morning light. Birds began to chirp. Barefoot, she turned and walked away, the grass cool and wet beneath her steps. She didn't rush. Each step felt light, steady, her head held high. As she walked into the light, her voice echoed quietly in her mind. Sometimes the world strips you down to nothing, and that's where you find your power. And with that, she disappeared over the hill, the sun rising behind her. Hey besties, thanks so much for watching till the end. If you loved Elena's story, the barefoot prom queen who found her power, make sure to like, share, and drop a comment below. We've got more drama, more twists, and more powerful stories coming your way. So don't forget to subscribe. See you in the next one. Stay bold, stay real. Bye for now. #DramaDiaries.